Now, yeah, first, so RipeStat, we see what is it about, what's RipeStat, how is it composed, and what is it useful for? Why would you find it useful to use? And some more of the details, how can you personalize it for your own use cases, and so on. And the same thing, Ripe Atlas. Maybe some of you, does anybody here has an Atlas probe installed somewhere in your office, at home? Anyone? Ripe Atlas probes? No one? Okay, great. So maybe when you leave here, we'll have some probes for you, if you're interested. So, but Victor will tell you all about it. That will be the second part. First, who are we? The Ripe NCC, just for the ones who are less familiar with us. We are one of the 5 regional internet registries. Together, we are responsible for the region of Europe, Eurasia, and Middle East. And what do we do? Well, we are the ones responsible for distributing internet resources. Internet resources, these are IPv4, IPv6, AS numbers, and so on. That would be our main function, registration, but we also do other things. One is the whole WHOIS, RIPE database, so all the registry data that you can also use to do your work. We also maintain it, the RIPE database, and we also carry out other projects like the ones I'll be talking about today, like RIPE Atlas, RipeStat, resource certification, and so on. We also deliver training courses. In fact, there's going to be 2 training courses this week here in this hotel on the Thursday and Friday. They're free for all our members. And we are basically a non-for-profit organization, and we are located in Amsterdam. That's the main thing. So if you want to know more about us, then just approach us during the conference. There'll be plenty of people from Ripe NCC here in the house. Okay, without further ado, let's talk about RipeStat. So what exactly is RipeStat? It is pretty much a tool that is what you could call a one-stop shop. It's a place where you can, in one page, in one tool, you can collect a lot of different data, a lot of information from several sources. So it's a sort of aggregator from different sources. Some of this data, it is actually it's maintained by us. It's the data from the WHOIS database, also other tools like from RIS, which is also maintained by us. So RIS is we'll talk about it in a second, but it's a system where you collect entries from the current BGP tables, and we make that data available publicly. And this RipeStat also gets information from there. But also other tools from Ripe Atlas and other RIR data from other regional internet registry databases, and also from third parties, data which is not necessarily maintained by us, regarding geolocation, blacklists, and so on. So get all this stuff together and put it in one place, and readily available for analysis. It also makes it more intuitive, more user-friendly, so you can have nice visualizations of this data. So if you're looking for information about any specific resource, it will be probably easier and faster to get where you want to be, because you can easily compare several pieces of data in one place. Where can this be done? So you have more or less three places where you can collect and use this information. One is the web interface, the stat.ripe.net. Just go to the website, and that's what we'll be showing here, also throughout this workshop. Then you have 2 other APIs, which is you can also use it for on your own platforms. So you have the widget API. As you'll see, the RipeStat is composed by little blocks of information, of data. And you can basically take these blocks and actually put them in your own website. That's what we call the widget API. So each of these blocks, we call it a widget. And it is possible to get the code that generates these widgets and place it as it is on your web page. Also, and could also be more interesting for some of you, if you don't like the way our visualization is done, our data is done, you also have the RipeStat data API. And what does this do is just get the raw data from RIPE-stat servers. So whatever the visualization is done on stat.ripe.net, if you want to do something different with it, you can access the API, and you'll get all the same information returned into a JSON format. And that's also show how you can easily do that. It's pretty simple. Right. So throughout this demo, we'll just show you first some screenshots how the whole tool works, and then I'll do some we'll do some say live demo. So I'll just show the websites and how you can do these queries and how you can see this information in the real thing. Well, this is the landing page where you just come here and first you'll have some resource some IP address or AS number or something that you want to get information about. But you can also already see the one that you're using. So here you could, in the real thing, you can see the hotel network and the AS number. In actually, what kind of queries can you do here? Well, you can query for any IP address, be it IPv4 or IPv6. You can query for a specific AS number, and the information you get from there, it's similar, but something is more specified for either it's an IP address or an AS number. But you can also query by host name. So you have more other specific queries if you query for a specific host name, you get also some information, mostly regarding DNS, and also for country code. So if you want to quickly do an analysis of what's some information regarding Ukraine or any other country, you just enter a country code and you get some graphs for the amount of prefixes and so on. We can also show that later. And the results page will be something like this. I think it will be easier in the real thing, but it's a bit out of focus. But yeah, as you'll see, you'll have the different widgets, the different blocks here, and next to it you'll have several areas of like routing or DNS or RIPE atlas information, so more specific. Okay, so now why would you use this? With RIPE-stat, you can actually try to answer some of these questions if you have the interest. So, for your own network, get some information about: is anybody announcing your prefixes? How visible? You just deployed your new IPv6 network. Is it actually being seen by anyone out there? Is it properly working? This you can also do. Then you have also what you have on the BGP, what is being seen on routing tables. Is it the same information as it is on the routing registry, like RIPE database and the others? That'll also be easy to see. Anything about DNS, it's consistent. And basically, if your customers, also your prefixes, where are they visible? This you can easily get from RIPE-stat. And also for other people's networks. You can also get some interesting information about it, which can be useful for you later on. Like how many IPv6 prefixes are in Ukraine or any other country, so you can easily get this information out of it. Compare all the neighbors, and also if you are about to peer with a new with somebody new, a new AS number, you can also see more information about your potential peer. Compare them. And other types of information. So also regarding any AS number or prefix that you see, you can get useful information out of it. Right? So now let's talk about these widgets. I'll show also these widgets throughout in the real website. So first I'll just start with a sort of general example. This is a widget that shows the allocation history based on an AS number, and but then this what I'm going to show here applies to all the widgets. So you have the same type of potential with these. So each widget, there's a couple of things you can do, like especially here on the lower menu. There's a couple of things like the source data. Remember I said about what I talked about the data API? I said if you want to just forget about the whole picture, the whole drawing, you don't like it, you want to do something different, you prefer to apply this something differently, somehow differently, and you just need the information, the data. So if you click source data, here underneath, you get all the data that is being currently shown on the widget as a JSON, in JSON format. And then you can just take it and do whatever you want with it. So create your own visualization scheme. Let's say you like the results and you want to share with your colleague. You just found out something interesting about your network or somebody else's network. Something is happening. You just want to show it. That's quite easy because you have this link here. It's called permalink. So it's just a link for a permanent link. And when you click on it, you get just a shareable link. So you can just copy this link and mail it or post it on Facebook or any social media and so on. So it's totally shareable, and including the variable elements of the widget itself. So as you'll see in this widget, you can actually zoom the time. You can select the time interval, and it will be shown. The graphic will be shown accordingly. But also this selection, this variable, is also represented in the permanent link. So everything can be shareable easily. So zoom and history and so on. And you also might be interested to know, where is this data coming from? What is the source of information? So for each widget, it will also be easy to check. Over here, there's this info button, and here everything is explained. Where is the data coming from? How is it processed? And maybe some details. So this is depending on each widget. Also, you may wonder, so what about how fresh is this data is? When was it collected? That is depending on the widget, of course, because regardless of the zoom period and so on, but each widget has a different way of working. So the timestamp, the time period, well, it depends on how on the widget, so the frequency that they update. But in some cases, they can also be adjusted, and you have to check out the information block. But then you also usually see in each widget, you get the timestamp of it in the bottom. Somewhere there. And then one cool thing you can do as well, if you actually want to use this information, and you're actually fine with how it looks like, the whole graphical thing. So you don't need to go and parse the whole JSON array and put it in your website. You could actually just click this button, embed source code, and you just get the whole HTML piece of code to just put on your website, and the whole widgets are shown just as they are on Ripestat website. But you can just put them on your own, just the same way, if you choose to do so. So this is just an example of an ISP who actually embedded a couple of widgets on their website, and so it just comes the same way as it is from Ripestat. So these are all things you can do with it. In a general way. Well, it's time for a little exercise. Yeah, usually on these demos, there's be some practical exercises, but today, since we're not, the room is a bit big, it's not so handy to, and also we are time limited. So instead of exercises, I'm just going to show you as a demo. I'll do it myself, and you can see it, but you are feel free to go into stats.ripe.net and follow along. I'll just have to move here because the laptop is actually stayed here. By the way, the things I'm going to look at, some of you have this paper in front of you. Yeah, we just printed this limited amount, but if you don't have, is anybody who doesn't have a little handout with exercise, blah? Everybody has it? Okay, this is more a reference also to keep you moving along. You feel free to do the exercises to answer the questions. I'll just move along myself, and if you have any remarks, just say it. Okay. So I'll have to type with only one hand, unfortunately. Let's see. I go to Ripestat. Just to zoom out a little bit. It should be okay. Right. So, well, in fact, I'm going to quickly go back to the slides. I'm going to try to do this. Yeah, because these are the tasks I want to do here on this little demo. So there is this. Yeah, I have an IP address. I just want to get some more information from it. So what can RipeStats tell me about this resource, this IP address? Okay, so 195.1.3. Well, okay, actually, yeah, I have it written. So I'm going to type the IP address in on RipeStats. And I want to answer some questions like which network is announcing this IP address? Is it actually being routed? How visible is it? Which country? And also, what is corresponding inetnum object? Does everybody know what an inetnum object is? It's from the RIPE database. So it's part of the registration. So all IP addresses should be registered in the RIPE database, and inetnum object, this thing here, it's just an object in the database which represents a prefix, basically. So it should be there. And from RipeStat, you can also easily see where it's registered. So let's just go there. Should be, oh well, I have to go like this. So 195.138.69.220. And let's see if we're lucky. Oh yeah. So I think I just need to do some magic here. Okay, cool. Well, at least now also it's a bit less blurry, so you can also see the details a bit better. It's kind of zooming in too much here. Okay, so first question was which network announces that IP address? Is it being announced? I guess so. Well, it's very clearly you can see it already where it comes from. This information is taken from the CIDR stats. It's yeah, so it's kind of crossing some information from the RIPE database, some from yeah, other source of information like the CIDR stats, and so it will immediately tell you which AS is announcing it, who is announcing, which organization is it. So it kind of crosses this information with CIDR stats. It's being routed, yes. Well, it's being announced, but also over here you can get some more information about it, like routing status. This is the current state of this prefix. So, by the way, yeah, you see how do you know how does it take this information from what the routing status? You have this. I'll show it in the next slide, but I'll mention it already. So there's this thing called RIS. Maybe you're familiar with it. It's also a platform composed by several root collectors around the world. What are these? Root collectors, they're basically like routers. They're just not announcing anything. They're just getting the information and then putting it in a database. And that's pretty much you can get some visual on the status of the BGP tables. It is raw information, so what also RipeStat is doing is taking this information and making it a bit more understandable. So here, the current routing status of this prefix, you can see it here. So at this time, it's actually 100% visible by all of the RIS peers. You could already get some, so this first part is kind of in the glance, so you have other widgets which give you more detailed information. But this part here tells you already some of the historical side of it. So first ever seen prefix was announced by the AS as well, but in 2000, so you already see some more of historical stuff and so on. You can also have information here, so this to answer about the RIPE database question, so the inetnum object. What is the corresponding inetnum object? Well, here it is. So this is directly from the whois, from the RIPE database. So it's assigned to this organization and so on. And you can also get the geolocation, which I accidentally zoomed it out, but yeah, here it is. So this is on the country level. So with this here, you see the whole prefix is being yeah, used in Ukraine. So yeah, nothing new about it. Yeah, so this is already like the main, like the very basic information you can get from one IP address. Okay, that's. Now, if I would like to know, let's see, I'll go back to the slides. Oh yeah, there was some, yeah, real-time routing status. Actually, that's something we can all go so afterwards. And how would you share interesting network events with a colleague? Go back there. This is, so if now I wanted to, yeah, send this to someone, put it on social media, then you get these permalink, so just for per widget. But I wanted just to get this, or this may be more interesting, all this information. Just click on the permalink, and this, yeah, I could just get this URL, put it anywhere, and it's just exactly this information. And all these things I've been showing before, the source data, so this is the whole JSON array. So if I also post, yeah, this is a call to the API, it will just get all the JSON information. Or use the widget API, so here also get the whole HTML piece to put on your website. And all the information about each widget. If you are wondering where does information come from, what's the source of this data, just it's all explained here per widget. So each of these widgets has its own set of information, okay? Right, okay. So, no remarks, any questions? Okay. I'll continue then. Yeah, so now a bit more about on the routing information, on the routing side of things. I'll go back here. So how can you get more information about, yeah, more detailed routing information? This, what we've seen so far was a bit of just the introduction of this, for information about this prefix, so at a glance. Well, one thing you didn't see because I didn't show, but I made a query for a prefix, so for that IP address, and I got all that information. I could also have entered an AS number directly. And the information I would get would be not exactly the same. So you could actually query based on AS and get some widgets which are just specific for AS number related information. So if you query with an IP address, you get some information. If you query with the AS number, you get other type of information. So that can also be useful, and I'll also show it in a second. Yeah, and if you enter an AS number, the type of information you'll get back is based on the prefixes that it's announcing. So you get this AS as being announcing this series of prefixes, and you can get some historical information. Like last year, this AS was actually announcing also these prefixes, or not. So this type of thing. Now, routing. So talking about routing. So this is what I also just mentioned. That's about RIS, and this is a big source of information in several of the widgets here in Rijpstat. Yeah, RIS stands for Routing Information Services, and that's what it does. So these are more or less the location of the root collectors around the world, and yeah, what they do is each of these machines just collect information about the BGP. They're not announcing anything. They're not routing anything, but they're just getting information and store it in a database. Actually, you can get. Also, if you want to collect this raw data yourself, just go to ris.ripe.net and yeah, check out what you can do there. You can also use this information. It's all public. Yeah, it's been active since 1999, so there's plenty of historical data there. Yeah, it's 15 root collectors, more than 600 peers around the world. And yeah, and it's a very nice yeah, source of information for Rijpstat. Yeah, this actually we've seen already. So yeah, these are the basic thing, the basic widgets you can see. So answering questions: is it being announced? The AS number, database information, and announced which AS. So let's go a bit deeper now. In fact, this would be the same first screen if I would enter an AS. I'm sorry that the image is quite blurry. It's a bit low res for this screen, but with AS number, you'd get different information more specific for AS numbers. Actually, you'll see, and I'll show you in the real RIPEStat website, that the same widget, the routing status, if you enter an AS, it actually will show you how many prefixes it's returning. So it also adapts the information to the AS numbers. And now, a very nice tool, which is BG Play, it's a standalone thing, but it's also been integrated into RIPEStat. BG Play, it was a project developed by University of Rome, and it's a way to have a nice visual animated diagram of all the announcements, all the routes for a specific AS number. It's quite interesting to see, and I'll show it. So it actually exists as a standalone. You can actually also install it on your machine, download it, and install it. But yeah, you can. It has been integrated into RIPEStat, and it looks like something like this. Has anybody used it before? Do you know it? So it's very good. It's an interesting way to see how the whole BGP is working at the time. So I can make also a quick demo. So what happens is you have you enter an AS number, and you'll usually see it in red, and then you can see all the routes for all the routes and the announcements that for its peers. This is also based on RIS, so the route collectors. All the blue nodes are route collectors, and then you can select like a timeline. You have also a timeline. You animate it, and you see the whole routes flapping, and also all the routes kind of changing towards time. One example we usually still give in our training courses. It's getting a bit old, but yeah, still interesting to see because it's quite obvious. Is when the YouTube prefixes were accidentally hijacked by Pakistan Telecom, so they were announcing longer prefixes. So all the routes to YouTube went into Pakistan Telecom, and on BG Play you can actually clearly see everything going into their all the routes flapping into the Pakistan Telecom's AS. So you could check it out. It's pretty interesting. Yeah, and so many other things you can also see. But I'll give it I'll show you in a second. What else you can see regarding to routing? So basically, announced prefixes. This is when you are querying for an AS number. You will immediately see a list of prefixes, and also when are they being announced. The first scene, the last scene. Yeah, and you can also have some more visual graphics. Yeah, this is also can be a lot of information, so you can also filter it out. In this case, it will start by showing you the latest ones, the most visible ones, but then you can also see the whole thing, the whole history. It might take longer to load. Yeah, like this, then you can also see more of it. Yeah, and this is a visual representation where you have the AS number. You see each line is the prefix that it's announcing, and throughout time, you can see also with the color code. It's able to do with the visibility, and you can zoom it in or out, so you have a better view of what you want. Okay, so now I'm going to do again a little demo now on the BG Play side of things. So these are kind of the questions I would like to. So I have an AS number in mind, and I want to know a couple of things. Is it who is the upstream provider for this AS number, or is it multi-home? So with BG Play, you can immediately see that. Also, we can check if it's IPv6 connectivity, if it has IPv6 connectivity. So what I'll do, I'll go into the browser again. So yeah, the thing with BG Play is if you, then I don't know why, but it's probably maybe a reason, but if you query for a prefix, then BG Play will show up in the routing tab. But if you query for an AS number, well, it just doesn't show it here on the right side. You have to go through individual URL. So just for the widget itself, that's. But I'll just have to copy it actually. Where is it? Oh, it's here. Yeah. So actually, for each widget, you can actually load it in its own URL. So you have, in this case, stat.ripe.net/widget, and then here's the name of the widget for BG Play. And here I can actually enter an AS number, and it will give me the results, not on the other interface, but that's just the way it is for now. So, yeah, AS1205. And the question is, who is the upstream provider? So here you have the result. Yeah. And, well, you see, so the red one is the origin AS that we're talking about, that we're checking. You have in blue are all the root collectors. All the peers there are root collectors. You can get information about them also here, the whole thing. And you have this little timeline, which I'll show in a second. So first, to answer the question, well, that's already seen. So who is the upstream provider for these guys? Just have to, well, zoom in a little bit and read what's there. But yeah, AS 1853, that would be already clear. And yeah, then you can get more information. So in this case, you can also see the type of routes you have and so on. You can actually move around if you want to change this whole layout and so on, if you have to play around with it a little bit. And then you have this timeline where you can animate it, and see what kind of variations are there throughout this time. So I think by default you have 2 days. So I'll just click play, and you can see the root flapping throughout time. Oh. Try to zoom out a little bit. No. Yeah. So throughout this time, you have these are events that happen, and yeah, you can see. Then you can also zoom in and select the time frame and so on. Yeah, so you get the point. So check it out. What was the other question? Yeah, find if is AS3333 multi-homed. Well, yeah, that can also quickly do it. This is actually. Does anybody know who is using this AS number? Ripe NCC. So it's our AS. It's no secret. So that's our AS, and yeah. So is it multi-homed? Yeah. Well, you can already see. Yeah. We have a couple of upstreams, so yeah, it's you can already see the different connections. So it is multi-home, so you can also see this information. And now I don't have your, I think we don't. Yeah. So if you want to check the IPv6 connectivity of your network, then what you could do is enter your own IPv6 prefix and see how it's connected out there. Okay. So yeah. Take a look at it and play around with it. I'm going back again to the slides. Oops. Yeah. Right. So reporting abuse. Go back here. Right. So what happens when you see that something is going wrong with your network? It's being spammed. You get some things are happening that's maybe getting packets that should not be there, perhaps starting a DDoS attack or something. First thing you do, well, don't press the panic. Don't panic. That's the first thing. You usually should try answering a few questions, which this tool will help you do it. So Is it spam? Is it unauthorized access? Well, maybe good to see what IP, from which IP is coming from, and maybe from there you can contact the admin of this IP. So with the correct email for reporting abuse, and then usually on the right database, that's where you can find these contacts. So you have, in the right database, there should be contact details for all the AS numbers and IP address. That's one of the main reasons of the right database existence. It's to provide contact information, sort of yellow page for IP resources. What was happening in the past is some people would just not, it would not be too tidy. Some of the information in the right database was a bit maybe not so well maintained. If somebody would try to contact someone about abuse, in the database there would only be one email, which was actually not the abuse response team, the emergency response team. Maybe would end up in a customer service which didn't know what to do about it. So there was some effort, it was 1 or 2 years ago, I'm not sure, but to make this process more specific. So to make every organization to have in the right database the very clearly specified abuse contact, an email address or phone number and so on. So I'm not going to go into the details how it works in the RIPE database, but with RIPEstat, there's a setup where you can easily just enter the name of the AS number or IP address of the organization you want to contact, and it will show you quite directly what is the most reliable contact for this abuse. And this is an article from one of the developers and project coordinators from RIPEstat that also can give you some help on that. But basically, you have the abuse contact finder. It's one of the tabs on the RIPEstat interface, which you can use to enter the IP address, and then you get all the required information. So usually you get, in this case, this example is from our own. So it's again, probably from the AS3333. So it will give you an email address, some contact information where you can contact, and then it actually rates the contact. So what does this mean? This is what the RIPEstat does. It will get in the database. There should be a place called the abuse mailbox, which if it's there, it's really the contact that's like 5-star. This is supposed to be the place where abuse contact is. Some people haven't done it. Some organizations haven't done it yet. Created this contact. So the RIPEstat will search for another email and address in the database objects. So that will be maybe slightly less reliable, but it's still a good contact. Maybe it will have 4 stars and so on until the moment maybe there is no specific contacts, and it will just start parsing the database objects, the text, and will find email addresses and return these email addresses. This is like best call, you know. If it doesn't find anything, it just finds an email address in a text string, then it will maybe give it back, but with a lower rating. But yeah, this is what you can always use it to contact someone. And yeah, then you can also get some more details about it if all information coming from the database. Just then a quick demo also. Yeah, so let's say if I want to contact someone about the hotel network and it's some emergency, or this is what I would do. Okay, where it is? Yeah. So back here at RIPEstat, I should just go to the home page, the landing page, because then I can quickly use the current IP address or prefix, but where the IP address is, and it should be loading. Yeah, I get this, and now here anti-abuse. Here it is. So this is the email, the people I would have to call, and I have a 5-star rating. So they probably did their things right, and this contact is on the right place, the abuse mailbox. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And if it doesn't return anything, if the people you want to contact, well, IP addresses that you're getting. Yeah, when you try to search for it, this doesn't return anything. Then, yeah, the best is, yeah, you have to then we cannot really provide that information. You have to really search on the website to try to contact them. But at least with RipeStat, if it's if the things is properly set up from the company's side, then you can get quickly the results. Here you can also have some information about blacklisting. So from this specific prefix, if you have any entries who have been blacklisted, this information can be useful for you. This is it's not maintained by us because we do not run any blacklists or anything. So this is one of those third-party sources. And actually, I don't know which one, but you can look here. Yeah, what is the data source? So I think it's actually based on different sources. Well, you can read here. Oh yeah, spam house. So drop blacklist. Yeah, and you see protect. Yeah, so this is our data source, and yeah, it's also you can see it. Grab some more information from it on RipeStat. Okay. Now back here. Right. Now, personalizing RipeStat. Actually, I'll just stay here because I need to do something. So there is a possibility to personalize RipeStat. So you can create, make the interface meaningful for your case. So if you have queries that are, queries which are you usually use and you don't need to do much with that's some information you never really use, so you just want to specify these widgets that you always that are handy for you. You can actually create your own page with widgets through RipeStat. With this page, well, you need to have an account, so you need to log into RipeStat. There is no RipeStat login. What we use is our single sign-on platform, which is we call Ripe NCC Access. Does anybody have a Ripe NCC Access account already? Well, yeah, very good. Yeah, you also needed to log into other tools to LIR portal. So, but Ripe NCC Access is a single sign-on. So that means with this account, you basically access several services from the Ripe NCC. One of them is RipeStat that you can customize. With Ripe NCC Access, you can also access LIR portal if you're a member and you need to manage your resources. And Ripe Atlas. So Victor will tell you all about Ripe Atlas and to set up your own, let's say, measurements and that are specific for you based on these probes. Well, will come clear later. You should also have your own access account. So what I'll tell you, so in the second half of this workshop, Victor will show some practical examples. If you want to follow up with it, you should be logged in with your access account. If you want to do it, you still don't have an access account, it's very easy to create one. Yeah, I'll quickly do it. Well, I'll just show where. So if you go to access.ripe.net. Yeah, I'm already logged in actually. So yeah, but the only thing you need is really just, it's based on email address. So you create the account based on your email address and name and can select a password. You can set up a two-step verification, but you don't have to do it at the moment. So if you want to then follow up the second part with a Ripe Atlas, with your own account, your own measurements, you can create one just easily here and then use it. But then having an access account, then you can also do some interesting things on RipeStat, which is basically create your own views. And I think, yeah, now I'm logged in still. Yeah, probably. Yeah, I am. So on RipeStat, there's this button here, which would allow me to create my own widgets. Let me go back to the slides first. So, access. Yeah, okay, so why would you be interested in personalizing RipeStat? So that's the thing, is when you have several tasks, which are, you just do them all the time, and you don't want to have it all spread over multiple tabs. So you can create one specific tab, which is mixes information from the routings, the DNS, and RIPE Atlas in one go, because that's what you're interested in knowing. So after logging into with the RIPE NCC Access account, you can click this My View button, which I'll show you in a second, and basically the drag and drop interface. So you drag the widgets you want into your tab, and then you can easily see it. And then you can also select if it's to be shown when you enter an AS number or an IP address. You can either select the visibility based on what type of query do you do. Unfortunately, you cannot share it, so you can create, maybe it's a bit confusing, I'll show you the real thing, but yeah, it disappears over here, and then you can drag widgets into it. Unfortunately, it's not like you cannot have a permalink from your own shared views, at least not yet. Don't know it will be if there's plans to implement it. So you cannot send a link based on your view, but you can use it yourself. Yeah, then you just create the widgets, put them in, then rename the tabs, reorder, remove, and so on. And you can only see it after you create a query, and then that's what I said. So you just either is visible for AS numbers or for an IP, for ASN queries or for an IP query. But this is also can be configurable. So actually I think, I'll just show it because I think it's easier. Nothing like live demos for everything to go wrong, but we'll take the plunge. Right, well, I'll go back to the beginning. So like I said, you need to do this, you need to be logged in, and then you need to be doing it after you enter a query. So I'm doing an IP address, and now I have a result. Now I click here on My View, and here I have a new tab. I need to, if I want to rename it, and I'll just call it, so this is the wrong one. Here, I'll just call it, let's say, wrong button, sorry. Go back there. Go again. My view, it's already there, created. I just wanted to rename it, but it's, no. So let's say ENOG. And now I want to have usually information about, say, routing. So I will, I think it's still on. I'll just get the widgets for routing. Let's say I want the BG play, and I'll just drag it into the view. Actually, I create a new view. So, and then something about the database, and I'll also configure it. Some connectivity. Let's try again here. From routing, let me drag this one, like the BGP update activity. So now I have two. If I go on to My View, I have these two widgets which I just pulled in. So then it's up to you. Then you can create as many views as you want, or no, it's not true. You can create several views. It's not infinite, but you can have several of them, and according to your own needs. Okay, so that's one of the things you can do. So I forgot to say that. So for if you want to specify the visibility, if you have the view, and here you can go to settings, and here on the tool you can actually say for what resource type should this view be visible. So in this case it's just for IP address, but if I want also this view to be visible for AS number queries or country or host name, then you can also configure it, or here make it invisible and so on. So this is the whole visibility control thing. But that's really up to your own specification, your own needs. So Yeah, this is pretty much what I've done, just with different widgets. But yeah, this is the same type of thing. And what you can also, one functionality you can also do is comparing the networks. Let's see how I'm with my time. Okay, still good. With this, like right now, up until now, I've been showing just for one network. If you want to compare in one go more than one network, it's also easy, and you could use it to just for several use cases. Like if you're going to peer with new AS, you can see comparing several potential new peers, like with several potential ASs. You are also choosing an upstream. You can also compare one with another and see how they've been operating, are there different features. So this is something you go into the compare results, or I think once again it will be easier if I demo it, right? Yeah, so I'll just go again to the interface. Those screenshots are a bit blurred anyway, so I'll go back to the browser. And with these, I just need to, you have to get a bit out of the interface. Go to use cases. And from here, compare results. So what it gives you is, zoom in again. So you select the widget you want to get information from, to compare. Let's say, I don't know, I'll announce prefixes, that's always a good one. And a resource. So let's say I want to use an AS number from a RAP NCC. That would be the first one. Add, and I get the widget, and at the same time I want to compare it to, and it's totally random, but I'll just use the AS number from the exercise. What was it? AS1205. So I'll just add it here, and click Add, and then I have them together with each other. This is more handy this way, so you just can do this with any widget, just immediately see the comparison and charts and so on. And here you can do it up until 6 parallel widgets at the same time. So I can add another AS here, and up until 6. So So here you don't need a login. You can actually share. So it has a permalink. You can, if you want to share this comparison with somebody else, you can just send the link. And you just can add the widgets and do the comparisons. Like comparing growth of ASNs and like on a country base and V6 adoption rate and so on. So it's a few use cases you can have. And with this, we also have some interesting cases that are being put on labs.ripe.net. By the way, labs.ripe.net, if you don't know, it's a platform that we also maintain for having this kind of studies or results or use case studies. That we ourselves, some of our staff creates articles there, but you're also free to if you have your own article, your own post that you want to do, feel free to contribute. So here's a couple of them you can use, can read, and that was based on information from RIPEStat. This is just another example. So this is pretty much the demo I've done. And before the questions, well, I don't know if you have any questions. I can also, some of the widgets I haven't shown yet, so I could, I can make you now a more complete run through the whole, the several widgets that are available. We still have time. Just have to go to the RIPEStat home. Right, so just, this. So I'll enter the hotel prefix again. This we've seen already, this part, at the glance. All these widgets. I guess some widgets are not getting anything back. That's strange, but okay. Yeah, on the routing tab, what else you can find? Well, as you've seen, this is the current routing status with where is this prefix being originated. The BG play, we've seen already. Here you have a bit of also the update activity, the BGP update activity. This kind of ties in with the BG play graph. It's just, yeah, the BG play animation, but this is just more a time-based chart. We can also see, based on this prefix, how many activity was on the BGP throughout time. I think it's also time configurable. Oh yeah, with this one you can actually set up some monitoring. So if you set up some monitoring, you can have current. You can monitor the updates in real time. And configuration, I think I already have it set up. But yeah, then it will be giving you a refresh every period of time. So you can also do that. Just switch it off now. Routing history, I showed it on the screenshot. So for this. Well, actually, on the screenshot was the other way around, so it was based on the AS. Here, this is a prefix, so it's showing which ASs have been announcing this prefix over a period of time, and you see the bits of the prefix. In fact, these are probably just typos because it was very small announcements. Somebody made a mistake and removed it. But yeah, there you have this is the right AS announcing the prefix here. In fact, you can see these were typos because it was announcing the /8 and /7, so that's probably not the desired thing. And this one, yeah, you should be able also to zoom it in and out. Though it's not working now, but okay. Here is the looking glass. This is also based on BGP looking glass is a way that you can see the current status of the routing table based on the RIS, on the root collectors. So for each root collector you see here around the world, you see that, so we are based on this prefix, this /22, so you see it can tell you which AS is originating it. So here all these root collectors see the one AS originating it. If you then unfold it, you can see more detail, like which prefixes are announcing propagating the root, and already the AS path, and you can also go all the way up down to the specification. Also visibility, you can base also on the root collectors how visible is the prefix based on each of them. In this case, it's 100% visible everywhere. You can also see the related prefixes. So this is based on this prefix, you can see the more specifics if they're out there being announced, or in this case, adjacent prefixes. So this would be this AS is announcing the next /22 from the one we are looking for. So it's adjacent to the right. And here finally, this is where you can look at for a prefix, is it consistent with what's on the RIPE database? So it's at the question, like if the prefix is in the RIPE database, then it's the right, that's the, in however it's registered there, that should be the authoritative way. So if it's in the RIPE database, it means that the organization that's maintaining this address space, it's the rightful one, because it's been given by the RIPE NCC. But sometimes, yeah, some people could announce prefixes that are not necessarily theirs. So that's the thing with BGP. Anybody can announce everything. Or some people are actually announcing the right prefixes, but they just forgot to put their objects in the right database. That could also be the case. Can also give other problems to them, because some people are filtering based on the right database. Through this widget, it's easy to see if it actually matches. So this /22, it actually is consistent with what's on the RIPE database. So you see it in the BGP tables in the internet, but also in the IRR. So that's RIPE database and other similar databases. So this actually matches. What I see here is that the /32, so this IP address specifically has been apparently not specified in the RIPE database. So that could also be, you can also see these irregularities from here. And with and more information about now DNS, like reverse DNS. Did you set up your reverse DNS? Is it properly set up? And from here you can see immediately the reverse objects, reverse delegation objects. This comes from the RIPE database. So you have also the specific objects you need to set up. And if they're not properly set up, then reverse DNS will not function well because the zones will not be delegated properly. Sorry. And here again, you can see if in the RIPE registry, so in the RIPE database, it's there, but not. But you can also see already on the DNS if it actually matches. In this case, everything is properly set up. If not, then you could also see the result from here. Anti-abuse we have seen already. This is this is strange that it doesn't. It's giving all these errors, but this is something with the backend, maybe with the database API. Well, anyway, here's a way you could browse the RIPE database. With a bit more flexibility. But this is information that you can also find on the Whois. It's normal information from the Whois. On the next tab, it's geographic information. So this is where the prefix is used. This information is also based on the. This is also from a third party, MaxMind. But you can also see where the IPs are being used on the country level. So here we have it all just on Ukraine. And this activity tab is related to RIPE Atlas. So this is also integrated. RIPE Atlas is integrated in RIPEstat. You can also see this information from the probes and measurements based on RIPE Atlas from here. And it takes a while to load, I suppose. I don't know. And just a couple of final things, like. If I go back to this, just to show if I query based on AS number, so I'm just using the AS number to query now, you'll have slightly different information here. Yeah, the registry browser is definitely something blew up there. I don't know, but here you see this AS is originating several prefixes, and if I go to the routing tab, you get also different type of information. Because now it's related to AS, like the routing status. It says how many prefixes are being originated from these AS and BGP neighbors. And so like the routing history, now it's based on the AS, and you see all the prefixes that the AS is announced, this specific AS is announced throughout time. Same here again, so on the table format, the announced prefixes, and also when were they first seen and stopped being seen. The AS path lengths together with from the root collectors. Many of these are in internet exchange points, so then you can see for this AS how many hops do you need to do to get there. The neighbors from the AS, that's being currently, you only have one neighbor. Also if they are doing IPv6 or not. Historical information on that as well. How many prefixes are being announced by this AS also throughout time. And addresses. And again, the visibility. There's no IPv6 involved, so it only sees IPv4. But the visibility from each of the root collectors in the internet exchange points here. Also, this is about the prefix size distribution. So how many, how are they assigning their address space in how big in general they have this is an amount of /24s, /23, /22. So how are they distributing their address space? Well, this is actually good also for you if you just take over some network, like you just start working in a company and you need to see what's happening, taking over somebody else's job. As a network administrator, you can already see here what is currently happening with your own resources. How is your address space distributed, and so on. And again, the consistency between RIPE database and RIS. And Yeah, and one final one, you can also look at the country level. So if I just put the country code here, in this case Ukraine, you also get an overview of the evolution of the statistics, like here on amount of, this is for the last 2 days, I think. So if you can also zoom the amount of prefixes, IPv4 prefixes being announced throughout period of time, IPv6 as well, and AS numbers. So how many have been allocated by RAP NCC? No, actually this is about allocation. So you can see how many have been put out there, being announced on the country basis. So now this with the RAP stat, it's really up to you to what you need to know, what kind of information you need to know, and you can basically use the tool. Configure it as you, depending on what you are trying to know, what kind of information you want to get, and also the data that you have there. You don't have to limit yourselves to the visualizations we have. You can use our data API or widget API and configure your own platform. So either just use the tools, the widgets directly on your website, or use the information and create your own visualizations. So, I think, 10 minutes. So, which leads to the part. If there's any questions about this. Okay, well. If you have any questions, if suddenly you need to ask something, you remembered something, just feel free to approach me on the I'll be on the break or the next couple of days. So I'll be here for the whole conference, and also if any of you are going to participate in the training courses Thursday or Friday, then I'll also see you there because I'll be doing that training course as well. So I hope it was useful. Thank you very much. Thank you. By the way, well, this is 10 minutes, so we'll do the break. Yeah. So we'll come back in half hour or so, and then Victor will talk about RIPE Atlas. So.